Woof. Woof. Hey everyone, this is a review on the Yuxin Kylin V2M, a magnetic cube that just got released recently. The special thing about this cube is it's only $10. According to Yuxin, this cube is an update to the original Yuxin 3x3, the one Colin Burns got the 525 world record single on. So what makes this cube interesting, how does it stack up to other cheap magnetic cubes, and how does it compare to other cubes in general? Let's find out. For basic stats, this cube measures about 55.5 millimeters across and weighs around 82 grams, making this a fairly heavy Yuxin 3x3 release. The cube comes in black plastic and transparent plastic, so for WCA purposes, it comes in black. The different thing about the Kylin is that it has tiles. The scheme is very close to a Fulbright plus sky blue arrangement, which is very popular now and easy on the eyes. The Kylin also comes with factory installed magnets, which are pretty well done. The strength is nice and the feel is very reasonable. Besides these characteristics, this cube has a big selling point. I said it already, it's $10. So the price makes it one of the only two magnetic cubes that you can get at that price range, at least for 3x3. The other one is the Shengshao Mr. M, and quite honestly, nobody really takes the Shengshao Mr. M all too seriously because it has a strange bumpy texture and super strong magnets. The Kylin V2 is made with more tact and speed cubing consideration, and so not surprisingly, the Kylin is the better speed cube. Now onto the feel of the puzzle, which is smooth but slightly sandy. So even with lube, the cube has some friction inside, and this gives the puzzle quite a unique feel, of a good kind. If I had to compare it with anything, it would be the RSC, which also has a unique feel in a good way. Aside from the sandy feel, the cube is also very well put together with very stable turning. Each turn feels safe and quite reliable. The only big issue I have with this cube is the lack of liberal corner cutting, something that we've come to expect from a lot of nicer 3x3s. And while the cube corner cuts reasonably well, big cuts are quite jarring, and this makes overly aggressive and ambitious turning riskier. I also struggle a little more than usual with algs that use M slices, like H-perms, Z-perms, all that type of stuff. While the lack of liberal corner cutting certainly hurts the cube, I don't think it's the end of the world. For a cube that retails for $10, the combination of characteristics the Kylin V2 has is excellent. And honestly, if I could have a choice, I'd rather have a cube with slightly limited corner cutting over something unstable or with any other problem that more severely impacts my continuity when I'm turning. In other words, in comparison to some of the problems that other cubes might have, the shortcomings of the Yuxin Kylin V2 are not very serious, especially in the context of its price. I'm personally very happy with the Kylin V2. I set mine up with Lubical Black on the core, Traxxas 30K, DNM 37, and Lubical Silk on the pieces. My averages on the cube are not that bad at all. I like the shades and the tiles are relatively easy to grip. While the corner cutting issue sometimes forces me to slow down during fast turning, it's something that I can work around most of the time. Most of the time I just need to warm up a little bit and get used to the cube. While I don't think this cube can realistically compete with most flagships out there, I can confidently say it's a big winner in the economy segment. I don't think I've ever been this happy before with a $10 cube, at least not within the past few years. So it's no secret that I think the Yuxin Kylin V2 is a decent cube. It's pretty good. Now let's change the topic a little. Do I think the Kylin V2 is a good product? Absolutely, and I have quite a bit to say about that. So for starters, I think the Kylin V2 is a good product because it pays attention to fundamentals. It doesn't try anything fancy, and instead it has everything you need in a speed cube, plus a few other features that benefit beginners. For example, out of the box, the cube does not make you mad. You know, it has reasonable default settings that make you think, okay, this is a workable cube. I think I could make this a little better if I personalized it, but without personalization, it's not that bad, right? Also, the stock tensions are quite tight, so tight that it's hard to disassemble, and this is good for beginners. But when you do get it apart, you can access the spring for lubing without having to take the entire screw out, which is something older Yuxin puzzles didn't really have. And if you want more flex, the cube actually gives you quite a bit of leeway for you to loosen it for more flex and corner cutting. Key thing is, you can do this without compromising stability. I actually loosened my Kylin V2 quite a bit, and still stable, and it does not feel bad. Another important thing is, the Kylin V2 is different. It's different from the Huanglong and the Little Magic in feel, weight, and performance. Both the aforementioned cubes are quite fast, while the Kylin V2 is more controllable. So this cube has enough character where you can tell it's a Yuxin product, but it's also different enough for you to appreciate it on its own as an independent product. I think that's very cool. From a product design standpoint, the Yuxin Kylin V2 is great. It's designed intelligently and considerately, it knows its target audience really well, and it doesn't pretend to be anything fancy or groundbreaking. It is what it is, a near excellent speed cube with a super attractive price. Seriously, props to Yuxin for making such a good product. They took an older, successful design that lost its relevance and said, how about let's make it better, more modern, and cheaper? That's a win, and Yuxin has succeeded in this, and so the company gets an A in my book for this one. The Kylin V2 also gets an A because it's a pretty good cube. Now for the last part, I get a lot of questions about the Kylin V2 in comparison to other stuff. So let's go through them now. Let's play some Would You Rather. Alright, Would You Rather? Would I rather have a Kylin V2 or any $4 retail cube like the Guanlong MF3 or Chi Sail? I picked the Kylin V2. It's $6 extra, but for $6 you're getting stability, magnets, and a cube that will last longer in the sense that it'll be more usable and relevant for a longer time. Typically, most people outgrow $4 cubes after they get faster and often demand something a little better. If you have a Kylin V2, I think the point at which you'll demand something better will come later. And if you're deciding between these two options, almost always pick the Kylin unless money is a very serious problem. Would I rather have a Kylin V2 or something nicer like the Yuxin Little Magic MF3 RS2 or MF3 RS3? Easy, Kylin V2. It's slightly pricier, but the same reasoning applies as before. Now, would I rather have a Kylin V2 or the magnetic versions of the previously mentioned cubes? So we're talking about the Little Magic M, MF3 RS2M, or MF3 RS3M. I am so glad I didn't mess that up. So I like the Kylin V2 better than the Little Magic M. The Little Magic M is a little too flimsy for me, so not my preference. But I do like the MF3 RS2M a little better than the Kylin V2. That cube was just really well done. It's really smooth, and I like it. And my preference between the Kylin V2 and the MF3 RS3 is tied, as long as the MF3 RS3 is magnetic, of course. They're both pretty good, and I can go either way on that. So now, would I rather have a Kylin V2 or MGC? Now, this is more of a personal preference thing, but I like the Kylin V2 a little bit better. It's not as blocky and cumbersome as the MGC, and it's $5 less. So, if you guys didn't know, I think the MGC is pretty well rounded, but I can't get over how blocky and cumbersome it is. It just doesn't sit well with me. And the MGC doesn't seem to have anything that the Kylin V2 is missing, and I would pick the Kylin V2 if I was forced to make a choice between the two. I get better times on the Kylin V2, and so there's really no reason for me not to do that, but again, it's personal preference. So, Kylin V2 or MGC V2? This is also a personal preference thing, but I think the MGC V2 is a pretty poor cube due to its lack of stability. I consider lack of stability a very, very fundamental flaw of the MGC V2, and that just completely kills the cube for me, and I get serious continuity problems when I turn. And I think the fact that the Kylin V2 exists makes the MGC V2 seem even more useless to me. Again, if I had to make a choice between the two, I'd easily pick the Kylin V2 every time. However, if you have fantastic turning accuracy and you like the MGC for some reason and the price difference is cool with you, then of course you can exercise your personal preference. So now, Kylin V2 or non-magnetic flagship. So we're talking GTS2, Volk Power, you know, that type of thing. And my answer is give me the Kylin V2. Magnets are very important to me, and I would actually pick this over non-magnetic flagships. So now the question is Kylin V2 or magnetic flagship, and this is where I'd have to pick a magnetic flagship. My preferences for magnetic flagships gravitates towards the GTS3M, Volk 3M, and GAN 356X IPG-V5. And so while the other magnetic flagships aren't my tip-top favorite, they're still very good and are more likely to help me get better times. And if I had to go to a comp and had unlimited choice, I'd probably pick one of the magnetic flagships that I just mentioned. Kylin V2 or ramen? Dude, why did you put ramen on the list? You know I like ramen. So the answer is, if you don't have one of these cubes already, I'd take this. But if you have it already, there's no need to get another one because it's so well built, it's going to last you for a long time. So then in that case, I'd pick ramen. So if you have $10, you can get something really, really nice like this. And if you're spending extra on some of the toppings, I won't fault you. Most ramen toppings are really excellent. So yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah.